The night the twins were born, the sky over Okwama village looked wrong. It was too still, as if the air itself was holding its breath. Even the dogs refused to bark. Inside a small mud hut, a young mother screamed as pain tore through her body. Sweat poured down her face. The oil lamp shook violently in the hands of the midwife. "Push!" the midwife shouted. "Do not fear." The first baby came out crying. Relief filled the room for 1 second. Then silence broke it. Another cry followed. The midwife froze. Her hands began to shake. 2 babies, both boys, twins. The old midwife stepped back as if she had seen a spirit. "It has happened again," she whispered. The mother reached out weakly. "Give them to me." But the midwife did not move. Outside, the wind suddenly rose, and somewhere in the distance, a drum began to beat. Slow, heavy, like a warning from the earth itself. By morning, the whole village knew. Drums echoed through Okwama, calling people to the square. No one needed to be told why. Twins had been born again. The last time it happened, a child died of fever and goats fell sick. That story had lived for years, growing bigger each time it was told. Under the Iroquois tree, elders gathered with serious faces. The chief sat in silence before speaking. "The ancestors warned us," he said. The father of the newborn twins stepped forward. "They are only children." A sharp slap cut his words. Silence. An elder barked. "Do you want death to return?" Fear spread fast through the crowd. The mother arrived, holding both babies close. "Please," she cried. "They have done nothing wrong." But the decision had already begun forming in hardened minds. One elder stood. "The evil forest must receive them before sunset." The words fell like stones. The mother screamed, and the babies slept quietly, unaware they had already been judged. The sun rose high, burning the earth as if it was angry. Inside the hut, the mother refused to let go of her children. Her body shook as she held them tighter. "They are mine," she whispered again and again. "No one will take them." The father stood by the doorway, helpless. His eyes were red, but he said nothing. Outside, 3 young men waited. They had been chosen by the elders. No one looked proud. No one looked happy, but no one refused. In Okwama, refusal meant exile. A knock came. "It is time," one of the men said softly. The mother let out a broken cry that made even the air feel heavy. The babies stirred but did not wake. The sky outside darkened suddenly, as if the world itself was preparing for something terrible. The journey to the forest had begun, and no one knew if they would return. The path to the evil forest was narrow and silent. Even birds avoided it. Roots twisted across the ground like sleeping snakes, and the trees grew too close together, blocking most of the light. The 3 men walked ahead. The father followed behind, carrying the twins wrapped in cloth. Each step felt heavier than stone. The mother walked barefoot, refusing to be left behind. At the edge of the forest, the men stopped. "This is far enough," one said. The father fell to his knees. His hands trembled as he looked at his sons. One twin opened his eyes. He did not cry. He only looked. The father's breath broke. A sound came from behind them. Not drums. Not birds. Wheels. A cart. The men turned sharply. Through the shadows, a woman appeared. A white woman. She pushed a wooden cart and wore a long plain dress. A small cross hung around her neck. She stopped at the edge of the forest and looked at them. "What are you doing?" she asked. The forest went silent. Even the wind seemed to stop moving. The men stared at her like she had stepped out of another world. "This is not your land," one said sharply. The woman did not move back. "I asked a question," she repeated. The father tightened his grip on the twins, as if she was the only thing keeping him from falling apart. "They are cursed," one man said quickly. "We are obeying our law." The woman stepped closer. She looked at the babies carefully. One yawned. The other blinked at her. "They are not curses," she said softly. "They are children." Thunder rolled far above them. The tallest man raised his voice. "You do not understand our ways." The woman's eyes did not leave the babies. I understand fear, she said. And I know it lies. She placed a hand on the father's shoulder. I am Sister Eloise, she said, and I will not let you kill them. Rain began to fall. And for the first time, the forest felt like it was listening. Rain fell harder as they returned to Okwama village. It was not a gentle rain. It was heavy, loud, and cold, as if the sky itself was angry. Villagers ran out when they saw them. Gasps spread fast. They are alive. It has failed. The three men stopped at the village square. The twins were still in the father's arms. The mother walked behind, soaked and shaking to the Iroko tree. The chief stood waiting. His face was hard. What is this? He asked. Sister Eloise stepped forward. I stopped their death. A loud noise of anger rose in the crowd. You have no right. An elder shouted. This is our land. The chief raised his hand for silence. His eyes studied her carefully. You are a stranger, he said slowly. Why do you interfere? Sister Eloise did not bow. Because they are children, she answered. Not curses. Thunder cracked again, and for the first time. The chief did not respond immediately. He only watched the twins breathe. Silence stretched across the square. Even the rain seemed to wait. The chief finally spoke. In this village, he said, we do not ignore the voices of our ancestors. Sister Eloise stepped closer. Then listen carefully, she said. Because truth does not destroy ancestors. Fear does. A murmur rose again. The mother fell to her knees. Please, she cried. Let them live. An elder pointed angrily. She is bringing trouble. Sister Eloise turned to him. Tell me, she said, what exactly did the twins do to bring sickness in the past? The elder hesitated, and no answer came. Only stories. Only fear. The chief tightened his grip on his staff. If we allow this, he said, and harm follows. Who will answer for it? Sister Eloise did not blink. I will answer, she said. The crowd went silent again. A stranger had just placed her life on the line. The decision did not come quickly. The sun began to fall, painting the sky red like burning coal. The twins cried softly for the first time that day. The mother rocked them, whispering prayers. The villagers argued among themselves. Some demanded death. Some stayed silent. Fear was pulling the village into directions. The chief stood alone for a long time. Finally, he spoke. The children will live, he said. A shock went through the crowd. But he raised his hand again. Not as cursed ones, he continued. They will live under her care. If disaster comes, she carries the blame. Sister Eloise nodded. I accept. The mother broke into tears of relief. The father collapsed onto the ground, breathing hard, but in the shadows. Not everyone was relieved. Some eyes were filled with anger. And anger does not disappear easily. Sister Eloise was given an abandoned hut near the river. It was broken and empty, but she cleaned it with her own hands. The twins were placed on fresh cloth. For the first time, they slept without fear. Days passed. At first, nothing happened. Then a goat died in the village. Whispers returned immediately. It has begun again. A sick child followed. Fear rose like fire. People gathered outside the hut, shouting, return the curse. Sister Eloise came out holding both twins. Her voice was calm. Do not blame children for things you do not understand. A man threw a stone that missed her by inches. The chief ordered silence. But doubt had already started, growing again. Even trust, once born, can bleed. The sickness in the village grew worse for some children. Fear became louder again. But Sister Eloise did not stop working. She boiled water, cleaned wounds, and taught mothers how to care for their children. Some villagers began to watch quietly instead of shouting. One night, she treated a boy with high fever. The mother screamed outside, crying that it was punishment. Sister Eloise worked through the night. By morning, the boy opened his eyes. He was alive. The mother fell silent. For the first time, doubt turned the other way. The chief came later that day. He looked tired. You heal, he said quietly. I try, she replied, but not everyone was Convinced, some fear does not listen to proof.it, only waits for another chance. Rain did not come for many days after that. The ground in Okwama cracked open like broken skin. Rivers slowed. Crops began to bend under the heat. Fear returned quietly at first, then it grew louder. One morning, a child went missing near the river. By midday, people were shouting, "It is the twins again!" Even though the twins had never left the hut, the village gathered fast under the iroko tree. Anger rose like smoke. "They bring bad luck!" Someone screamed. Sister Eloise stepped forward holding both twins. "They are in my sight every hour," she said firmly. They did not leave this place. But no one listened. Fear had already chosen its target. The chief ordered search parties, and the forest was blamed again before truth could even speak. The missing child was found that evening, alive, sleeping inside a hollow tree near the riverbank. A goat herder had left him there by mistake while moving animals. Silence fell over the village when they heard the truth. No curse, no spirits, just human carelessness. But shame does not remove fear easily. Some villagers became quiet, others became more angry. "If not this time," an elder muttered, "then next time it will happen." Sister Eloise looked at the chief. "Fear is now your real curse," she said softly. The chief did not answer, but his eyes showed something different now. Uncertainty. The twins were growing stronger. They could walk now, holding each other's hands tightly. Children from the village began to visit them secretly. At first, their parents were angry. Then they saw something strange. Nothing bad happened. No sickness. No death, only laughter. One afternoon, a small fire broke out in a storage hut. People screamed immediately. "The curse is angry." But Sister Eloise ran forward first. "Bring water," she shouted. The twins held past small buckets despite their size. Together, the fire was stopped. When the smoke cleared, the truth came out. A cooking lamp had been left too close to dry grass. Not spirits. Not twins. Carelessness. The village went silent again. This silence was heavier than fear. But fear does not die from one truth.it only sleeps, then wakes again. A few nights later, the twins' mother fell seriously ill this time. No one openly blamed the twins, but whispers returned in shadows. She carried them. Maybe it is inside her blood. Sister Eloise worked day and night to treat her. The father stayed beside her bed, silent and broken. For 3 days, the woman did not wake. On the 4th day, her eyes opened. She was alive. The house broke into tears. Even those who feared the twins could not deny what they saw. Life had won again, but only for a moment. Because something bigger was coming. A messenger arrived from a distant village. His clothes were torn. His face was filled with fear. "Another set of twins was born," he said quickly. "They have been taken into the forest already." Silence fell hard. Sister Eloise stood up immediately. "We must go," she said. The chief looked troubled. "If we interfere again," he warned, "we may start a war between villages." But she did not stop. "The children are still alive," she said. "Every second matters." The twins, now older and more aware, stepped forward. "We will go with you," one said. The village watched them leave. Some hoped, some feared, and some prayed that this time truth would be stronger than tradition. The journey to the neighboring village was long and silent. Dust covered their feet. The sun burned their backs. No one spoke much, because what they were going to face was not just distance, it was belief. When they arrived, the air felt different, heavier. A crying woman was sitting outside the forest edge, her hands tied with rope. Sister Eloise rushed to her. "Where are the babies?" she asked. The woman lifted her head slowly. "They took them in," she whispered. "They said the forest must receive them before nightfall." The twins stood behind Sister Eloise, shocked. Without waiting, she turned toward the forest. "We are going," she said firmly. Some men blocked her path. "You cannot enter," one said. "It is forbidden." Sister Eloise looked at them. "Then your law is killing innocent life," she replied. No one moved after that, and she walked in. The forest was darker than aqua moss single quotes as no birds. No sound. Only thick silence and twisted trees. The twins followed closely behind her. The air smelled wet and old, like something forgotten. Then they heard it. A baby crying. They ran toward the sound. Inside a hollow tree, 2 newborn babies lay wrapped in leaves. Alive. Weak. But breathing. The mother from the village collapsed when she saw them. They are alive, she whispered again and again. Sister Eloise handed her the babies carefully. No curse took them, she said. Only fear almost did. The twins stood still, shaken. For the first time, they saw clearly. This was not just their story. It was happening everywhere. When they returned to the village carrying the babies, shock spread instantly. Some people cried. Some stepped back in fear, but others fell silent in shame. The village chief of that land stood waiting. His face was hard. You brought back what we rejected, he said. Sister Eloise did not bow. You rejected life, she replied. The crowd reacted loudly. Anger rose fast. You are destroying our ways. An elder shouted. The twins stepped forward for the first time. We were like those babies, one said quietly. Silence fell. The crowd turned toward them. Their voices were calm, but heavy with truth. And we are still here, the other twin added. And no one answered, because truth had no weakness in that moment, only weight. That night, someone tried to burn the hut where they stayed. Fire climbed fast into the wooden roof. People screamed, "Leave, the spirits are angry." But Sister Eloise ran inside first. The twins followed. Together, they pulled out sleeping children and the rescued babies. The fire was stopped, but not before damage was done. The next morning, blame returned. This is proof, some said. She brought destruction. The village chief stood in silence for a long time. Then he spoke. If this is destruction, he said slowly, then what have we been doing for years? No one answered. But something had shifted. Not fully, but enough to crack the old wall. News of the rescue spread beyond both villages. People came from far places to see the twins who had survived what others did not. Some came in anger. Some came in curiosity. Some came in fear. But most came in silence. The twins began to speak in gatherings. Not loudly. Not proudly. Just truthfully. We were once called a curse, one said. But we were only children. Sister Eloise stood beside them. And fear, she added, turned children into monsters in people's minds. The crowd listened. Some cried quietly. Some looked away. But no one laughed anymore, because the story could no longer be ignored. It was standing in front of them, alive, breathing, speaking. Sister Eloise knew her time was ending. One evening, she called the twins to the riverbank where she first arrived years ago. The water moved slowly, like it remembered everything. I will not stay long in this land, she said softly. The twins looked shocked. Why? One asked. She placed a hand on their shoulders. Because my work was never to stay. It was to open eyes. Silence followed. The twins looked down, struggling to hold their emotions. What if fear returns after you leave? The other asked. Sister Eloise smiled gently. Then you must stand where I stood. That night, no one slept well. Even the village felt the weight of her words. Something important was ending. And something harder was beginning. Sister Eloise left at sunrise. No drums were beaten. And no celebration was held. Only silence followed her steps. The twins stood at the edge of the village watching until she disappeared into the dust road. For a long time, no one spoke. Then life slowly continued. But something had changed. Fear did not disappear. It waited. And it returned sooner than expected. A strange sickness broke out in a nearby region. People panicked immediately. Old voices returned. The twins are gone now. Maybe the protection is gone too. Rumors spread faster than truth. Some villagers began to doubt again. The chief called a meeting. This is the moment we choose, he said firmly. Fear or truth? Before anyone could respond, the twins stepped forward. "We will go," they said together. Even though they were young, their voices did not shake. They traveled to the sick village and organized care, boiling water, cleaning wounds, separating the weak from the strong. Days passed. The sickness slowed, then stopped. For the first time, the village they saved did not call them cursed, they called them leaders. Years passed. Okwama was no longer the same village. Children were taught to read, mothers learned how to care for newborns, and twins were no longer feared, they were celebrated. The twins grew into strong men. One became a healer. The other became a teacher. One evening, the old chief lay dying. He called them to his side. "I once feared what I did not understand," he said weakly. "But you changed what I believed was unchangeable." The twins held his hands. "We only survived," one said. The chief shook his head. "No," he whispered, "you transformed us." He closed his eyes peacefully, and the village mourned, but not with fear, with gratitude. On the day of the great harvest festival, drums echoed across Okwama, not slow drums of warning, but joyful drums of life. Children ran freely across the fields. Twins walked openly without fear. The elder twin stood beneath the iroko tree and looked at the crowd. "We were once called a curse," he said, his voice carried across the village, "but we were only children born into fear." The younger twin stepped beside him, and fear almost ended our story before it began. Silence fell. Then the elder twin spoke again. "But truth changed everything." The crowd erupted into cheers. The wind moved gently through the village. The same land that once cried for death now celebrated life. And under the iroko tree where judgment once sat, hope now lived.